Now let's dig into fluency with comparison. Remember, fluency is doing something easily and accurately. So students should be able to easily and accurately compare different numbers and quantities. They need to use a lot of the language related to more and greater, less and fewer, as well as equal. And they should be able to compare objects to objects, numerals to numerals, as well as numerals to objects, and vice versa. So what are some of the ways that we can help students compare? Well, one of the ways is we can give students a lot of manipulatives to practice these hands-on comparisons. Snap cubes or Unifix cubes are really great for this activity. Here I can snap different sets of like colored sets together and then be able to compare which is greater, which is less, or are they equal. You can also use base 10 blocks or place value disks and build two numbers. Here I'm building this number and that number to determine which is greater, which is less, or are they equal. We also want to do a lot of activities with helping students understand the symbols. For me to show you all of this, I've got to get out of the way. So here students can learn the symbols using dots. So here I can see that 1 is less than 2, or 2 dots on the end of the greater than symbol is greater than 1, or 2 is equal to 2. Again, go back to talking about how that equal sign is directly related to the less than symbol and the greater than symbol, and that's going to help students really understand comparison in the long run. You could also use the symbols using capital letters. Here you can see greater, equal, and less. And you really just want to practice a lot of these comparisons. And one important part that we haven't really talked about up to this point is reading these comparisons. Not only do I want to compare 3 and 5 and determine that 3 is less than 5, but how do we read that from left to right? 3 is less than 5. That understanding of that symbol right there is less than, and that the greater than symbol means greater than, that's going to be important for students to read these this comparison. There are online activities that you could use to help students do comparison. Here we're comparing number values junior. Here students are going to count the number of dots in each set and then put in the inequality symbol or the equal sign. And there we go, put in the correct sign there. And then we'll see that 7 is greater than 1. We see that in word form. That's really a nice way for students to then read this comparison aloud. And then once students get 5 in a row, they get to play a little bonus game. Always nice. The other thing you want to think about comparison is how this directly ties into word problem solving. There are word problems called difference problems, and in these difference problems, we have amounts that are compared for a difference. For example, Mac has 12 crayons and 5 markers. How many more crayons does he have than markers? Here, we are comparing the crayons to the markers. So what we want to do is explicitly teach some of the relational vocabulary. What relational vocabulary is in this word problem? Well, the question asks, how many more crayons does he have than markers? So if I have more than something else, I end up comparing two different quantities. And so if I were to think about that language, maybe I want to highlight that word more to really focus on that comparison of the crayons to the markers. And then as you have seen in some of our other modules for the Kansas Math Project, we can use different diagrams or equations to help students represent this difference problem. So here, our difference equation is greater minus lesser equals difference, or maybe you want to use a graphic organizer such as the one you see here, where I'm comparing the crayons to the markers to figure out the difference. That's that rectangle highlighted in red with that question mark there. And then I can think about the difference between 12 and 5 as being, 7. I thought it was going to fill in there. It's not. But I can figure out that the difference between the crayons and markers is 7. So there's a lot of different ways we can practice fluency with comparison. You've probably got some favorite activities you already use. So I'd like you to push pause and tell us, which fluency activities do you currently use to help students build fluency with this comparison? And which of the activities that we just saw might you try implementing in your classroom to help supplement how students think about comparison?